Yeah, there you go. How's it
All
going,
right.
Schyler?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Excellent. I see you're wearing that new Track Life t-shirt, or it's not a t-shirt, long sleeve.
This one's like the three-quarter. Like I'm hooked on these like three-quarter baseball shirts. Like I love them.
That way you don't have to roll your sleeves up all the time, right?
Exactly, and I run warm, so these are perfect for me in the winter.
Perfect. Well, I'm in my basement. I got my hoodie and my hat on, some long pants and slippers on down here. I'm in the basement.
So I'm a little lucky because I'm out in the shed today. Because my foster daughter is let's just say she's nonverbal, but she's very vocal. So to make sure we could record anything, I'm like, I gotta go outside. But it's
Sure.
like it's 70 degrees on January 1st. Like what the crap?
And you're in Virginia,
Yep.
and that's pretty warm for January 1st. It's supposed to be snowing today here at about 10 p.m. It's a
Yeah.
national weather emergency, type of snow. I think it may be 3, 4 inches, nothing crazy.
Yeah. No, we haven't. That's all we've wanted is snow or a little bit cooler weather. It's been scorching hot like the last few weeks. It makes absolutely no sense.
Well,
Of
thanks for
course, I
coming
had a
on.
headphones.
Oh,
I had
yeah,
a headphones, so I can't go and enjoy it.
right. Well, thanks for coming on, talking to me on the EricSwanRacing.com podcast. This is, like I said, Schyler Kopp, and this is the 76th episode, excuse me, and it's your second time. So I like to always get those updates about a year or so. And I was just looking on the YouTube channel, and I had 31 episodes the first year. I did 44 last year, and now I don't know. Maybe I could do 52 this year. That'd be kind of a cool goal.
Yeah, that'd be a good one to go for.
Um, but just trying to talk to all sorts of people. I just had Jason Uribe on here. Firefighter out of California. Man, he was in World Superbike for a couple rounds at Czech Republic, most, and a few others. So it's just really cool to connect with people just like yourself and hear your stories.
Yeah, I was listening to the Jason Uribe one the other day while I was working on the computer. Yeah, that was a really good one.
Yeah, well, thank you, man. I'm just helping. I hope I can help promote the sport a little bit and other people as well.
Yeah, especially with people like him. He's very well spoken and always has a lot going on. So it's never like the usual. Like, what are you doing? I train. I ride bikes. Let's talk bikes. He was like, so let's put out a fire yesterday.
Yeah, several campaign fires already, it sounds like.
Oh yeah.
But you got an interesting life. You're a Brazilian jiu-jitsu artist.
Yeah. Sometimes I do that well.
And how often do you do that? How often do you train or roll?
I do 4 days a week usually. And 2 of them are an hour each, and then 2 of them are 2 hours. So yeah,
Pretty good swag
quite a bit
going.
of that.
And how do they pair you up? Are you like sparring type of thing with people or training on your own? What are you normally doing?
It depends. Each class is different. Sometimes you go in there and it's like typically Wednesdays are trying to give everyone a heart attack day. So it's like a lot of crazy warm-ups. You got to do paired warm-ups where you're carrying people back and forth and dragging them. And then you go into like a whole lot of rounds. And every round you switch partners, you get someone else. Because you always got to be like paired up with different body types, different specialities. Because everyone's a little bit different. Everyone rolls different. So if you train all the time with this one guy, you can go hop with someone who's a lot newer and not has many skills, but they have a totally different body type and different style, and you might be sitting there like, I don't know what to do.
So it really throws you off if some people have a really weird technique or something you're not used to. You got to adapt to that.
Oh yeah, there's some guys, like this one guy I know, Gannon Lang. All you know, whenever he's tying you up, it's like, I don't know what he's setting up. I just know it's not good.
And I assume, is that mostly on the ground or you're on your feet some of the time before you get to the ground?
Yeah, so it depends. Sometimes you start on your feet. That's where all the injuries happen, is the takedowns and stuff. So a lot of times they'll just skip to it and just start on the ground.
You don't want that slam.
Exactly. And then where we train at is a judo school. So there's a lot of judo guys, which, that's all they do is hurl people through the air. So sometimes when you're going to get someone who's really good at judo, it's like, bump slap, and they'll just sit down. Come on. I ain't getting thrown. Come on.
Yeah, you know what's coming.
Exactly. I mean, I'm a big dude too, like 6'2", like 220 pounds. And some of these like little 5 foot, nothing, 100-pound judo people still send you flying.
That's pretty cool. That's something I've never really gotten into. I mean, I had brothers and cousins that we'd always wrestle and things, but didn't really step into the gym to do MMA or BJJ
Yep.
yet. But it's something that's on my list. You know, I always struggle with not wanting to get hit or not wanting to take on the physical contact injuries.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing with jiu-jitsu is you don't get any of the like impacts from it, so you can always go full gas. The only thing you really have to worry about with that is occasionally you get, like, I broke my nose one time because the dude thought he had me wrapped up in a choke with my gi,
Yeah.
and then instead of just realizing he didn't have it, he loosened a little bit and then tried to yank it back really hard. But what he did, it was still across my nose, so it just like crunched. I'm just looking at him like, dude, really?
Yeah, that's rude.
Exactly. I'm like, dude, you know it's not working. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like it is relatively low risk though. You're not like throwing bows or fists at people.
Yeah, except as long as it's not, and every now and then you get an accidental elbow to the face or something like that. But aside from that, yeah, usually you can go really hard every single day of the week and still be pretty good. Yeah, it's just as long as you got a good training partner who's not like going over the top, you're pretty solid.
That's pretty cool. And I wanted to talk about something you started recently. You have a new a company that was just formed.
Yep, On Track Performance, doing personal fitness training for specializing in motorcycle road racing and track day programs, but I do it for everything. So I got some runners I work with, some jiu-jitsu people I work with, but for the most part, what I started for was for road racers because we don't really have much in the field for it. I started because I had a really bad injury in New Jersey last year, and as I was coming back from that, I was having a real hard time trying to find like training programs that would help build me back to where I would go riding. I couldn't even find any, like Coach Chaplin. I didn't even know he was around then.
Yeah.
So I couldn't find anything. So I was like, you know what, screw it. I really, really hate the job that I had. So I was like, let's just go ahead and I'll start my own program. I'll do it on my own.
Yeah.
So I went and got certified as a NASM instructor or a NASM trainer.
Which is National Academy of Sports Medicine, highly rated.
Exactly. That's pretty much like the #1 program for getting certified for personal trainers. Went and got that. And then this year also I started doing the 2-hour team challenges solo. So I was able to kind of test a lot of the training strategies on myself because that's a real good way to find out if you're doing good or not.
And those are 2-hour endurance races where just one pit stop for fuel.
So with the Triumph, I could do one, sometimes like 1 or 2 pit stops. Now I'm on the ZX behind me. This like drinks a little bit more fuel. Yeah. So that one tends to be like 2 to 3, depending on the track.
Okay, and that's just one rider though. You don't have a team of riders. It's just you.
Yep, it's just me. Sometimes I even go with a pit crew. Luckily, most of the time my brother has managed to show up, so he can do the fueling for me. But there's been at least one round where I showed up. I'm just walking around going, "Hey, can anyone fill up a gas can for me and point a fire extinguisher when I come in?"
Yeah, that'd be sweet. That'd be awesome because you have to have one person with the fire extinguisher ready, pointed right at it, and then one person with the gas.
The only thing you really need is you need someone with the fire extinguisher. That's the only like requirement. Like the guy that used to like kill it running these solo was Lloyd Bailey. He would just randomly ask people, "Hey, can you come point a fire extinguisher at this for me?" Like he would get off the bike, do his fueling himself and everything.
That's awesome.
So watching him do it, I'm like, man, I want to go do that. And then he passed away last year, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. This year I'm doing it. I'm gonna go be like Lloyd.
Heck yeah. And so you don't even need tires. I mean, it'd be helpful, but you don't have time to do tires, or it's not advantageous for the time you'd make up.
Exactly. Some of the Pirelli guys will do it. Pirelli tend to burn through a little faster. Now that I'm on these Michelins, not a problem at all. I can run the full distance very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be going down to Daytona coming up in Thursday for ARMA. ARMA Vintage Racing is going to be down there, so I'll be doing that event. That should be a fun one. It's getting back into the 70-degree weather again for me.
Yeah, escaping the snow.
Yeah. But I hear that a lot of flights are getting delayed recently, so I'm a little nervous about that situation, if it's going to be pushed back or if it's going to be cleared up since it's kind of after the holidays now.
Yeah, there's been a lot of getting canceled and delayed. I had a few friends that end up getting stranded.
Yeah.
One of them would say stranded. He's like, oh no, I can't go back home to go to work in time. Darn.
Yeah, what a problem, right?
Exactly.
Oh man. So sounds like you've changed paths a little bit. You were working at a dealership, I think, and that can be irritating sometimes, but now you're
Yeah.
kind of doing your own thing and racing motorcycles, I assume, in 2022.
Yep. Still racing motorcycles. The goal is to do all of, well, let me phrase that, to do all but the homestead round for the
Okay.
team challenges. Because I wanted to do that one, but since I'm starting up a new business, a little strapped for cash. So trying to make that trip all the way down there and have to get a hotel and everything, so you can't camp on the track. It was just a little bit a step too far.
Yeah. Well, you
But
got a
yeah.
van though, right?
Yep, I got the van. Yeah, so I
Um,
still love that thing. That's why I've been insulating that, building it out a little bit more over the winter too, so that way next year I'll be more comfortable in it.
awesome.
Yep.
Well, how many more clients do you think you'd need to get to go to Miami?
Uh, Honestly, I'm still having to work part time. When I say part time, it's like 1 or 2 days a week. They got to help fill in the bills and all. I think I figured out if I get 10 or 11 more regular clients, I won't have to work at all anymore. I can just focus on this.
Sure.
So that's what my current goal is. I want to be at like 17 or 18 clients. So that's what every day I wake up, I walk in, flip up the computer, and try to think of ways to drum up more business. Yeah.
Yeah, so
But
you're doing some videos recently talking about the business.
yep, talking about the business, talking about things that I've been seeing people doing for training that aren't the best. That's because one thing because I work with that Coach Chaplin guy. We'll sit there and we'll message each other back and forth and go with ideas. And I was on his podcast recently too. So nice thing is, as I moved into this, I have the top guy in the U.S. is like isn't looking at me like, oh, it's competition. It's like great, someone I can bounce ideas off of.
That's good. So you guys
And I'm
are
like,
kind of
that's
putting your head
awesome.
together and getting some ideas for either looking to market to people to find new clients or different strategies for how you're coaching your clients.
Yep. Well, the funny thing too is like when it comes with our actual training strategies, they're very similar. But the funny thing is, I went at it from being a rider and then learning the scientific part of it for setting up your plans and all. And he went from being a trainer and then just so happening to work in with riders and then having to learn the sport and adopt everything. And
Yeah,
we ended up with like extremely similar plans, like right off the bat. So we're just kind of talking about the things that we do, and we're kind of like, well, we're on the same page.
that's good. I would assume, for me, it was never a lot of heavy weightlifting. It was a lot of um, maybe more reps, but lighter weight, a lot of
Yep.
cardio, cycling, running, rowing is great for me. Just being on a bike and balancing, any balance work or yoga would be advantageous. But are there any specific types of workouts that you could give us some free tips for people who are watching?
Yeah, one thing I said, one of my recent videos I did was we call like unilateral training, so training doing half your body at a time, because you're always kind of leaned off the side of the bike. I mean, you should every race school tells you should never be centered on the motorcycle. So why sit there and train bench presses or train everything evenly? So one of the things that I like to do is things like kind of a single leg squat, so then you have the balance going on, but at the same time do an overhead press with a dumbbell, or do a forward lunge, and on the same side that you're lunging, do a curl. Just stuff like that to kind of work one side of your body at a time. And then there's even for cardio, like going cycling, going running. They work great for the long-term endurance and getting your heart beating. It works for one type of energy system that your body uses. But the thing with racing is you're throwing the whole bike around, you're moving, you're finding multiple G forces and multiple points all over. So it doesn't help a whole lot for that. So what I've been doing is setting up these supersets and these circuits for my guys to do that more kind of closely simulate the type of strains that you get in racing. So you just jump from 30 seconds of this workout, hop immediately to 30 seconds of this workout, hop immediately to 30 seconds of this workout. You got a minute to recover, boom, start over again. You just
Yeah.
want to knock them out. Yeah, so and it's all body weight. Most of it this time of year, especially, I try to do all body weight and more cardio based. Just kind of set the groundwork for everything, so we start ramping up for the initial preseason push. which usually I start setting for everyone around March.
Okay.
And then once they ramp up from there, then we kind of tone it back a little to go into the race season and just about maintaining after that.
Yeah, and then I've seen posts of like world champions, winning on that Sunday, and then Monday they're back in the gym the next day, like going at it. They're not partying super hard. There's next day like, well, I want to win the world championship next year. It's it's up for grabs. They have that mentality.
Yeah. That's when they tell people it's all about consistency. So if you can do just 1% more each week, keep adding it up. I mean, that adds up to a lot at the end of the year. And actually, a lot of my guys, I have to actually yell at to slow down and take more breaks.
Yeah.
One of my clients, he's won championships in the U.S. He's won them foreign, and I literally have to always yell at him, be like, dude, take a break, relax.
So,
I had to delete one of his. He's going motocross racing this weekend. I had to delete one of his workouts out. I'm pretty sure his head might have exploded.
Well, I mean, motocross is a workout in itself, right?
Exactly. He was telling me he's going to race motocross. I'm like, what day is that? Cool. Let's go in there and adjust the schedule. Because that's one thing I do. Every single plan is for each person specifically. So I have everything from multi-champion guys all the way down to moms that do track days. So I can't give them the same plan. One will be bored and then the other one will have a heart attack. So
there's always levels.
Exactly. Yeah. Plus, you got to build up for each person has their own muscle imbalances, their own injuries that they're dealing with. So we got to kind of work on evening all that out, and then we can work into ramping everything up. But that has to be on a client by client basis.
I'd be super interested to see, like, give me results. I know you just started up, but something that would be awesome data to have is, say, give me your lap times for a few of your tracks that you've been to a couple of times in dry weather. And then after a year, you might be able to say, well, since you did all this fitness training, and maybe not, it's correlated or causation, one of the two. You could say, because I did this training, I dropped X amount of time, and on average, my clients drop this amount of time in 1 year of training. I mean, you could relate that to having a better bike or all these different things, but
yeah,
it'd be interesting to see that.
The main thing too is just how you feel in the battle at the end of a race. That's gonna be the big decider, because that's what everyone who messes me says the same thing. When I get to lap 6 or 7 in that sprint race, or when I'm in the last 10 minutes of that 45-minute Moto America race, like I'm struggling to hang on, and I'm like, well, that's something we can work on. That's the goal. That's the main thing that we'll be able to help them out with. And the other thing too is that a lot of people don't think of when they're doing training is thinking things that's going to help them in case they crash. So working on durability. So I know that's one thing Marquez, he was obsessed with stretching all the time. Because the more limber he was, the more he could take a crash. No one hurled himself on the ground more than that guy. Yeah. That's how he always crashed and hop up, run away, go hop on the next one, because he actually trained for that. So I've been building in a lot of stretches, forcing my guys to do stretches. A lot of them do not want to. And then once they get a little more adaptive, it's in the habit of doing that, I start adding in movement exercises that kind of help with being flexible, using power while you're twisting around. It's mostly a thing I got from jiu-jitsu, but I found out from doing those and then going and riding on track, it actually helped with like the movement on the bike a lot more. It actually helped me be a little bit more fluid when I did hit the deck.
And if you have, all this fitness already built up, you'll heal quicker if you do get injured, but you're also, everything's easier when you don't have to worry about, oh, my leg is sore or my leg is getting tired through this corner. You don't want to think about your leg. You want to be thinking about what's going on up here, not your body. So if your body can do it, no problem, you can focus on racing easier. And then you can maybe make that pass instead of like, oh, my leg's tired. I'm just going to probably sit back and, let him have the corner, So it allows you to free things up and focus on what you need to focus on.
Yeah, everyone, especially when they're in track days and long races, you always get to that point towards the end of it where you're kind of like, you don't want to go all the way off the bike. You're like, I don't want to break all the way down at number 3. Let's back it up a little. I might fly over the bars. Yeah. I know my first team challenge I did, that was actually like I did 2 sprint races that weekend, the team challenge. That was like my first weekend back from breaking my arm and jacking my back up in that crash. And the last 10 minutes of that race, I was really having to lock my elbows to keep from going over the bars. That's when I came in. I'm like, I got to figure something out.
Yeah, this is not working.
my normal training is not working for this at all.
Yeah. So when you started changing your normal training, what did you go about doing?
Main thing was getting rid of a lot of the weight stuff I was doing, because I was doing everything wrong. Like I tell everyone not to do. Like I was going in, I was lifting all the weights because just naturally a strong guy, so it always feels good. You can go in, load everything up, and go to town. And I used to use quite a bit of machines too, just because one, they're usually more open when you're at the gym. There's more options, so I just kind of hop on those. And you realize that, yeah, they do work well in building strength in certain muscles, but they don't work all the connecting muscles between you.
Yeah.
And when you're on a bike, that's the key ones right there. The stronger your core is, stronger those muscles are, the less you need out of your arms. So it's always tell everyone, if your body can hold itself up, you don't need to hold your body up. So that's one thing that your arms don't have to do. And just by taking that out of the equation, some people that could be 150 pounds that right there in the middle that their arms no longer have to deal with.
Yeah.
So then you just got so much more endurance out of that.
That's good, for sure. And you, how do you like the Cowie over the Triumph? Is it an upgrade for you?
Yeah, it's so much better. I love this thing. It actually feels like, because I had an 04R1 when I was going through track days going up, and it's happy slipping and sliding and being all sideways, and it's kind of a fatter bike. Like I said, I'm a big guy, so trying to squeeze on that little Triumph was, even the straightaways were exhausting.
Yeah.
And then I hopped onto this, and the Cowies, they like to slide around, they like to move, they like to dance under you, and if it was like that on the Triumph, you're about to hit the deck. This thing is just kind of like, so I see you're so sideways, you can see your butt looking forward. We can go a little more.
Yeah, it seems a little bit more forgiving. Maybe it's just because the inline four versus the triple. I'm not sure.
I know a lot of the Moto America guys are saying that the chassis on this was designed to be a street bike, so it's designed to be more comfortable. And then the R6 was more designed to be a race bike that was converted to street. So that's why they're a lot more rigid. It's a lot easier to nail perfect lap times one after the other on the R6.
Yeah.
Whereas with the ZX, you can go faster, but you're gonna be dancing around a little bit.
Yeah. I wanted to mention this. I saw a post today about Brad Binder. He had done 3 laps in a race. I think it was lap 12, 13, 14. With the same identical lap time within 3 digits, 300th place, 3 places past the decimal. It's like, that's incredible to be able to do that, to be that consistent in a race situation with stuff going on around you. It's like,
especially on those bikes. Especially those bikes, there's so many systems that they use and change, and they flip on and off as they're going around on a track. I think just trying to press the buttons on time, I might get some of that wrong.
Yeah, just to be that, that consistent is awesome. You can see that the pros or people at that level are just so precise with every braking point and turn-in point. It's that's how it has to be exact every time. But it's not exact. Yeah. Sometimes you're sliding more. Sometimes you got into a little too hot. So you're just always, making these adjustments so you can get back online or get back into the right speed for your braking point or whatever. So
that's what I like to watch when Luca Marini was in Moto 2. I used to tell everyone he was a robot because it didn't matter beginning of the race, end of the race. He could come in, there'd be chunks missing out of his tire. But if you watch footage of the first lap and you watch footage of the last lap, he looks identical. Yeah. It's like his lap times are consistently close. It's like, the fuel level is different. The tires are wasted. He's tired, but his body position is the same. All his points look the same. He's always smooth. He's never sliding around. And you see everyone else around him getting more and more squirrely. It's like, how? Yeah. How do you do that?
Just, I guess, being so smooth, you maybe use less tire, so you have more tire at the end of it. But it doesn't look like he's going crazy. He's not offline too often. Seems like he's got it pretty dialed in.
Yeah, he's always just nice. It's the Lorenzo style. It looks boring but hauls.
like hammer and butter.
Exactly. Actually, the funny thing with Lorenzo, he used to do the weirdest thing that used to bother me, and then I've realized looking at pictures that I do the same thing every now and then. It's to make sure he stays loose on the bars. When he's turning, he'll let go of the outside bar with his fingers.
Just take your hand off but keep your palm on it.
Exactly. He lets go, so the bar just sits in his hand, and you see his fingers open, you see his thumb open. It's just to remind himself to stay loose on the controls as he's going. Yeah. I used to sit there and watch him doing that. It would annoy me so much. I'm like, hang on to the bike. Yeah. Don't just race. And then I realized that I started doing that, especially in the long races, because if you let go of it, your hand gets a little break, and two, if that's loose, then this needs to be tense. So then you start kind of loosening up your grip a little, and then same with like your outside foot. Sometimes I'll just let it kind of slip to the side. Sometimes under heavy braking, it'll kind of if one foot pops off the peg, I won't even worry about it. Just kind of let it dangle, and you're like, just those little things of not worrying and not tensing up just get you so much more, one, relaxed, and two, be able to last a lot longer.
Yeah, and something that helped me, when you get more fit, is that at first, you're huffing and puffing, breathing through your mouth, and there's a lot of air going through there. So your mouth is going to dry out in like 30 seconds. And then you'll be super thirsty for the next 20 minutes. And you got to learn to breathe through your nose and keep your mouth shut, because sometimes there's bugs and stuff. I mean, you got a full face helmet on, but still can come up into your visor and your helmet. So, or you have it maybe cracked a little bit, so stuff.
I know one track that we go to, NC Bike, it's got a DOT asphalt, so it just shreds the tires. So towards the end of a weekend, you got like tire marbles everywhere, and the last few hours of the last day, you'll be getting pelted. You'll feel them go all up inside your helmet. I've had to spit them out before.
The neck maybe a little bit.
Exactly. Oh yeah, they'll get the neck really good. There's a few times you can feel them hit the leathers, and you're just kind of like, so glad I have to put on.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I showed you the other day, I got Revit as a new brand I'm working on. Their suits, their boots, jackets, trousers, man, they got so much stuff. I'm still working on a batch of another 1,000 items or so. Just arranging images in Excel, trying to put them all in order, for all the items. But yeah, it's cool to be able to sell products like that now.
Yeah, it's such a big brand. It's one of those companies you don't realize they make as much as they do until you start looking at their catalog. And you're just like, holy crap.
Well, I mean, one item could have 5 colors, and and each color now has 7, 8 sizes, from like extra small to 3 or 4 XL, depending on what it is. So that's for one jacket. I mean, think about how much it costs just to produce 50 of each one. For one type of jacket. Then they have, hundreds of jackets, or not hundreds, but hundreds of items within their catalog, and probably a dozen jackets or more. It's amazing. They have like street gear and racing gear, and a lot of touring gear, and casual gear. I want to get some casual gear, like get a Revit hoodie and t-shirts, and they have socks and shoes. I'm like, why am I not just wearing everything that I sell?
That I said, and we were talking the other day. One of the guys that used to coach had one of their undersuits, and it was the Cadillac of undersuits. I'm sitting there, and I would be, because I normally don't wear undersuits nowadays. I just wear like a upper rash guard, the tall socks, some compression shorts, and you're good to go. But when I used to wear them all the time, I always get those Moto D ones, which always like tear, and you buy one every year. Sure. But and I'm sitting there looking at him. He's had the same one for a while, like it's kind of thick. It like hooks on his fingers so it doesn't pull up, and I'm just like, that is pretty sweet.
Yeah, heck yeah. So it's like, man, I like this Alpine Star suit over here, but man, I should get a Revit.
Yeah.
It's for sale if anybody wants it. I got an Adam Alpine Star suit. I'm looking to buy my own one. There's nothing wrong with it. I've worn it a handful of times for Supermoto, but I haven't even drugged my knee for Supermoto yet. So still learning on that front.
That's one thing I want so bad is a Supermoto bike. It just looks fun.
They're like
a couple
grand.
What was that?
They're a couple grand. I mean, a brand new 150 Honda, maybe like what, 6,000 or less? Probably less than that.
Yeah. Then I've been looking at like of course you gotta look at the expensive ones first. I was looking at these KTMs that were out, and I'm like, it has everything. You don't have to do anything to it. It even has like a good pipe on it from the factory. Just gotta go rip it. Then you look at the price, and you're like, I can wait.
Those are like 15,000, maybe 10,000.
Exactly. That, and I kind of want a 2-stroke one, just because it's awesome to have 2-stroke.
Like that ringy ting ting sound.
Oh, exactly. It's funny. So I have this little PW80 that I did like a bunch of work to. I just got scooter racing tires on. I'll set cones out in the park or in the cul-de-sac and do like little drills with it. My foster daughter, she'll come out and she has all these toys where she pushes the button and she likes when it makes noise. she loves that thing, all the smoke and the two-stroke noise. She'll walk over and just like push the seat of it like it's a button and back up. Like, why isn't it starting? I even had one time where I saw her getting ready to step on the Kickstarter. I'm like, no, don't fall over.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Sounds like you got a good relationship with her.
What was that?
That's pretty cool. It sounds like you have a good relationship with her.
Oh yeah, she loves bikes. She watches races with me on TV.
Yeah.
And there's some like if I'm watching like on board or something, she'll sit in front of the TV and sway like she's actually doing it.
Like she's leaning off the bike.
Exactly. She'll sit there and lead with it. We were joking around, like holding her and then leading with the video. Now whenever it's playing on board, she sits in front of it, does it on her own.
That's awesome. Pretty cool that she's interactive and she's like understand what's going on. And like I'm not exactly sure her condition, but I know it's Emile. Is that correct?
Emily.
Emily.
Yep. Yeah, I forgot the name of it. It's like she's missing 2 chromosomes or something. It's got one of those really long, scientific, boring names. But yeah, she's nonverbal and she kind of plays it up a little bit, acts like she can't do as much as she can. Because there's times where like I'll go to walk in the back door and she'll walk over, unlock the door, open it, look at me, laugh, and then shut the door, lock it, walk away. I'm like, you're not supposed to be able to use doorknobs.
Yeah. So she's pretty smart.
Exactly. She'll get in and mess with things all the time or screw with people and like, oh, she doesn't know. I'm like, you said evil laugh. She knew exactly what she was doing.
Yeah. That's
the funny thing is we took her to the zoo and some people are even saying like she's not real good with like if you tell her left or right, like she might not know. I'm like, hey, there's elephants on the left. She's like, there's what?
If it's important, right?
Exactly. If it's important to her, she can do all kinds of stuff.
It's very selective then.
Exactly.
Very interesting.
Same with things that you know she can do. If you're trying to make her do it, she won't do it. She acts like she can't, and then you'll turn her back. You'll see her there messing with whatever you're trying to make her do.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And you have a girlfriend or wife that helps out as well.
Colleen. So she's actually the guardian for Emily. I was informed that I'm the toy. I'm the one she likes to play with.
Very good. Yeah, unfortunately, I lost my cat a few days ago, and I was just thinking of maybe becoming a foster cat daddy, seeing if that would be an option, because that's one way to see if you, it's like testing out an animal in a way that you're intending to give to another home, or maybe you'll take it on yourself at some point.
Yeah. The cats are a weird one like that because they're either like really, really awesome or they're just like, leave me alone, you provide the building.
Yeah. So yeah, they all have their own unique personalities, and some people don't think highly of cats, but they become your buddy. I wasn't a huge fan of cats before, but I didn't understand cats. I never had a cat, so every time I touch a cat, they're like swatting at me, and I didn't understand why. Once you become a cat owner, you see the subtleties, and when they switch from being loving and kind and playful to like hunt, and I want to destroy your hand. And I never saw that change before. And so I thought I was just terrible with cats, or they all hated me. I just didn't see the characteristics or how their ears change or their body language changes.
Yeah, a friend of mine has a Chinese cat. She's always posting in her stories because they'll go from lying around, flipping its tail, getting belly rubs to literally stalking her like she's prey.
Yeah.
You'll see it like popping out of cabinets at her and everything. It's like a cartoon. Like, I love watching video of that. It's like, you want to hang out there? Like, nope, not at all. They seem evil.
Yeah. And something I just learned recently, because I was kind of looking at Pet Finder, but I was like, is it too soon? How long do you wait? Like, I don't know. There's no right time, but people have allergies to cats sometimes. I have allergies, but I don't know if I'm allergic to cats, but I've had a cat for 7 years. I just always had, a little bit of, sinus stuff going on, but it's not a big deal. Maybe it's from the cats, who knows? But I guess female cats produce less allergens than male cats, and neutered male cats produce less than non-neutered. And it's not the fur or the hair that's causing allergens. It's the saliva. It's some protein in the saliva when they lick their fur causes allergic reaction in some people. And so long-haired cats can still be hyperallergenic. But I looked for hypoallergenic breeds around, and there are 0 within 100 miles of me, which means everybody wants them. And I guess light colored, like white furred cats are much less allergy prone than darker cats. I had a black male, so I had like one of the worst kinds, and I didn't have an issue then, so I'm probably fine. So if you really are allergic and you can't find a hypoallergenic cat, a white female would be your best option.
You know what's really funny with me? The cats themselves, I'm not allergic to. It was the cat litter.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah, like I couldn't go
allergic to
near
that.
most brands of cat litter. Like, yeah, I would just completely balloon. I mean, it looked like I was having like an allergic reaction to shellfish. Like the eyes would go, everything would go terrible.
Maybe something in the urine.
It's actually the cat litter itself. Like some of the whatever is in some of the cat litters, because I could take a brand new bag, open it up, and then I'll just start ballooning up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I forgot there was like one specific brand that we had to get. It was like a Tidy Cat something. It was like one of their ones. We had to get that exact one, or else like I couldn't go anywhere near that part of the house.
Oh, wow. Maybe some element in there. I found out that I guess a lot of the litters don't decompose very well. It takes a long time for them to decompose. So I use Equine Bedding now. It's like wood chips, compressed wood chips, and they just, when they pee in it, it turns to sawdust, and then you just dump it in the woods and it decomposes. So that's what I've been using for years. I get it from like Tractor Supply, and it's extremely cheap. You get like a 20-pound or 30-pound bag, whatever it is, for like $4. It's awesome. I'd recommend it.
I used to use that stuff when I had horses. When I had horses and cattle and everything, I used to use it all the time, but we never once thought to use it with cats.
Yeah.
Because we had some rabbits at the time too, and of course you use cat litter with them too. So yeah, that would have been. I don't know why we never thought to just use that for them.
Yeah, I had a girlfriend who told me to do that, and that's what we did ever since. And I never knew cat litter was an issue. I just bought whatever was at the store. But now you know. Now we know.
Seems how it is with everything. It's you start to find out more and more that just about everything takes forever to decompose, or it's terrible for this or that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It turns out you make all these synthetic chemicals for everything. It ain't the best for the world.
For sure. So in the coming years, electric bikes are going to be more of a thing. What are your thoughts on those?
I'm weirdly stoked on it. Especially like that new Ducati one that came out. That thing looks sick. And then Michele Pirro said that when he rode it, there was 70% power, and he said it felt exactly like a GP bike.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I think it's something that's I don't knock on combustion engines because that's all I've really known. But I think at some point, society or manufacturers are going to be building these electric bikes. It's going to be here. I think it'll allow us to ride more places because of no sound. There'll be less sound, so no sound restrictions. Like Laguna Seca, you go to these places, you can't ride, or you have decibel restrictions. So this would allow people to ride their dirt bikes in their backyard, and who's going to call the cops because you're riding a dirt bike and it's not loud? It's not anybody now.
I'm trying to think of the guy's name. He's a former Supercross racer, but it's Josh something. But he's got a Tesla, and he's now working with that new Start company developing their motocross bike that's all electric. And that's what he does. He goes and like rips skate parks with it, and then rides around and like hits spots around town. He goes, no one can hear me ride it. No one knows. He goes, if he used to turn on a dirt bike at a skate park, cops are already there. He goes, I can ride 4 or 5 hours with this thing. No one will even turn up. And then everyone watching it thinks it's like a novelty. He's like, oh, look, it's an electric bike. Like they're not real. Look, and there's one. So he goes to like get away with even longer.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with those cake electric bikes. Have you seen those?
What's it called? A cake?
Yeah, cake.
Yeah, I haven't heard of those. No.
Oh, they're like Swedish or something. They have very Scandinavian styling to it. I'll put it like that. But it's supposed to be like the equivalency of like I'm trying to think, like a KLX 125, like a 125 small trail bike. But yeah, they built was like a full blown like little flow track behind their factory, like in the middle of a city, and they ride it every day. Like no one knows, no one complains, and they just look fun. And the point that they brought up is if you're going out riding it in the woods, if you drop it in a puddle or something, it's waterproof. You don't have to worry about seizing an engine.
Yeah.
And You just drop it. You don't have to worry about oil dripping out of it. You don't have to worry about air filters getting dusted or any of that. Just do whatever. Just go. All you got to worry about is just when to charge it. But I mean, no matter what, if you're going to the woods, you're not going to carry a can of gas with you. You're in the same boat.
Right. Yeah. You only got, a dirt bike only has a couple gallon gas tank. And if you're ripping it, you're only be, an hour or two, maybe?
Exactly. Yeah. That's the one thing that always annoys me with electric bikes is because I worked at a Harley dealer, and of course they had the live wire, and everyone was like, "Oh, the range this, the range that." Like the range on that 48 Sportster 48 over there is like 80 feet before it runs out of gas. It's got less than 3 gallon tank. You're gonna complain about a thing that could go for 2 hours?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool to be able to just fill up whenever you want, like the gasoline for sure. But how often do you actually drive 500 miles on a trip? Like maybe some people do that often, sure, but most people probably not. You go like 10, 15 miles at a time. You go into the gas station, you go to the store, you go into the movie theater, whatever, you're going to your friend's house, you're going to work. You're not going on these long trips every day for the most part. That's like a one-time thing or in the summer trip,
Yeah, that's what I'm telling them. It's like, there's different styles of riding. Sure, everyone wants to imagine that they're going to hop on their bike and go hit the twisties, but we live in Virginia. If you're going to go around a twisty road, you're going to have to drive several hours of highway to get there.
Yeah.
So most of your riding would be around town. I mean, the last street bike that I had was a GS 500, and to be honest, I rode it once every 3 months just because I felt bad because I wasn't riding it. Once you go on the track, you have a hard time finding motivation to go on the street.
Yeah, people don't realize that. People ask me, "Well, you don't have a street bike? Why not? You don't ride?" Well, it's just different. Everything goes towards racing. When you're into racing, it's like, well, now I don't care about street riding anymore. Now everything is for this sport. I want to do it in a competitive environment. I want results. I want something for my race. I want to bring home some hardware, not just do a track day. It's a different mindset after a certain point.
Yeah, dude, it's not just hardware. Like I want to go out and I want to go fast. Like every time I go out, I want to be pinned and on it. And it's like, what do you do when you ride on the street? You sit in traffic. You stay at the stoplight, and then you sit and wait to merge, and then you sit and wait. I'm like, if you're really into riding a bike, go to the place where you can just ride nonstop for an entire session. And everyone's like, well, it's only 15 minutes. I'm like, trust me, most people don't make that 15 minutes.
Yeah, a lot of people exit. They enter 2 minutes late, and then they get off after 5-10 minutes. A lot of people. Some people I always try to be out there as long as possible. I'll be out there till my bike runs out of gas, and then I gotta push it back.
Yeah, when I was just doing track days, I was great for that. If they ever had open track, I would just go out till I ran out until that light came on. I would come in, fill it back up, go right back out, keep going.
Yeah, there was a couple of times for the supermoto I did this year. I borrowed a friend's bike. And he let me ride his, I think it was a 150 or 100 cc Honda. It was a Cowie 250 and a Husqvarna 450 for supermoto. And I didn't know how much gas was it. There's no gas light on those bikes. So I just kept riding, and it sputtered a little bit. I'm like, oh, maybe it's going. And then a lap later, it was out. So I pushed him back. But I was out there for an entire tank of gas, it felt like. And he told me, man, I've never seen anybody out there for that many laps in the track day. I was like, man, I haven't been out here in a while. I need to get my seat time in.
Exactly. I want to make up that lost time.
And it was cool. I saw people. I went out with my buddy, and then he went out like after 15, 20 minutes. Then he came back on, and then he went out, and I was still out there. Like, this is awesome, It's like that mentality. Sometimes you go to the gym. I do anyways, and I'm like, I'm gonna run until that guy gets off. I have no idea how long he's gonna go, but I'm just trying to be competitive in my mind, and that's what I'm shooting for today. I'm just trying to stay with somebody else.
Yeah, it's always fun to have that little chat. It's like if you're ever running on a trail and you see someone else running the same direction, you're like, I'm gonna beat this guy.
It doesn't mean anything. It's just for fun, but it's like
exactly. It's like he might just get out of his car.
Yeah.
I was telling him he might just get out of his car. He might be fresh. I don't care. I'm gonna win.
You might be going for a marathon today. I'm gonna be screwed.
Exactly. I always tell everyone that's all the people I train for running, I always tell them, about pacing, and they're kind of like, yeah, no, I will. Like, no, you say that. First time I did a half marathon, you know what I did? I PR'd my 10K time on the first half, the fastest I've ever run a 10K. Then
Yeah.
realized the rest of the path, or the rest of the half marathon was uphill from there back.
Oh no.
Longest day of my life.
Like, this is not going to work out.
Exactly. There's a few points where I was just walking up hills. My brother's like, he would come over and catch up to me. He's like, "Hey, you gonna put a little effort in?" I'm like, "Honestly, this is a lot of effort." You don't understand how stupid I was on the first half.
Yeah. So you've done some foot races as well. What are your normal distances that you like to run?
My favorite one for speed was 10Ks, because that's about as far as you can go and be pretty flat out. I've done a few half marathons, and then I skipped marathon. I've actually never run an official marathon, and then I did a bunch of ultras. So I did from real long. But me and my brother, that's what we used to do. We used to run every day, and then on weekends we would go run trails, and then we would eat something in the car, and then we'd grab our climbing gear and climb or hike back up the trails and go climbing. So
Pretty cool.
yeah, spending all day on your feet is kind of what I'm used to.
Yeah. I've done a couple of 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, but I haven't done the full marathon yet myself. So I feel like that's another tick in the box I'd like to do. But I'm actually kind of just getting back into running, as probably some people are trying to, being the first of the year. I started a few days ago, so I'm not with that crowd.
Yeah.
But, no, I've been doing that Orange Theory, so running a little bit. Just trying to get back to better fitness like most of us are.
Yeah. That's one thing I started doing recently too. Was doing like 5Ks with the stroller with Emily in it, pushing along, because we were just kind of curious how much she was gonna like it, because we did the one on Thanksgiving. We have to get up the crack of dawn and go up there. But there's people running like costumes and everything. Just the look on her face is like those inflatable ones, like an alien is like kidnapping the person. There's someone running in that, and she just looked all the way, like watched it turn. He turned completely around and looked at me like, "Do you see this?
Is this normal now? What is happening?"
Exactly. And then there's that same person just ahead of him had some kids dressed up as I forgot what they were, or elves. So then she's looking at them like, "What the crap?" And they had their dog dressed up like an Ewok.
Oh man.
She kept looking at me like, "Where have you taken me?"
Yeah, my parents and my brother did a 5K run a couple years ago. I was gonna do it too, but I had hurt my ankle mountain biking, so I wasn't running at that time. But yeah, they wore some sort of like sumo suit costumes, I think, all like blow up ones, and that was pretty cool.
I bet that was a workout running in that thing.
Yeah, it's more work, and it's probably hot in there. It might be like November, December time frame, but it's pretty warm in that suit.
Yeah, I was thinking of like when fighters cut weight, they put on the rubber suit and go running until they come back 5 pounds lighter. Yeah. Like I imagine that's exactly what happened.
For sure. So my brother is an Ironman, a 5-time Ironman, and he's going to be doing 2 of them this year. Ironman company has some issues with doing their normal world championship at Kona this year because of COVID restrictions. Being on an island, it's kind of not good for that. So it's going to be in Utah, and my brother had already signed up for Utah. So he's pre-qualified. He's already entered in to be in the world championship race this year in May. So he'll be with the big boys this year, kind of grandfathered in and racing with the best of the fastest, most fit people in the world. So he doesn't expect to win, but he's still going to be competitive. I think he was around the 13 hour mark. Sorry, Kevin, if I got that wrong. But that's I think they cut you off at like 17, 18 hours. So they'll pull you off the course after that time. Like that's done. We're done today. But that would stink if you like got a mile to go or you can see the finish line. I think they might let you have it. But it's at some point you got to call it, right? You can't have people out there all day. But in your ultra races, do they call the race? Is there a finish time, or can you just go until you're done?
There's a cutoff. Most people don't actually stop. It's just kind of like your qualification no longer counts, and most of those guys are so driven, they're like, okay.
So you just don't get an official finishing point, but you're like, I'm gonna keep going. You can't stop me.
Yeah, I still have to find out what time I finish this and to know what to work on for next year. So I still got my watch going. Let's go.
See, I guess I picture they come with a van and like take you off the course.
Yeah. And that's what they do with cycling. They have the cleanup truck, they call it, that follows behind, and then they pick everyone up once you go back too far.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
they're kidnapping you.
exactly. That's one thing this year my brother, me and him are going to do is some ultra relays, because I haven't done any real competitive running in a real long time. He's a sponsored runner, and I've been dealing with some knee injuries from playing around on the mini moto back there. I managed to hook my foot on the ground going around a turn, and it twisted.
Ah,
So yeah, there's surgeries needed, but yeah, can't. It's very involved and takes up a lot of, like, half a year of your life. And I'm like, I can get away with it now. I can put it off. So
sure.
delaying that. So I've just been kind of working back into running, because one of them that he wants to do is like 200 miles, I think. And
Whew.
just the two of us. So we're gonna split it up. Like, we haven't decided how long of stints we're gonna do, but the one thing that he likes is we'll have the van. So we'll have a, you know, fridge, full kitchen, somewhere to sleep. We have someone drive us, and then you at least get breaks in between. But yeah, that's next fall. So that's our goal, is to kind of be able to pull that off. So we're gonna do the David Goggins challenge coming up here soon too, where it's what was it 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours.
Whew.
So yeah, we're trying to get in shape to do that. And that was in March, I think. So I'm well prepared. I know when it happens.
Heck yeah. Yeah, there was a year I was doing a Tough Mudder, and I was like, I know it's coming up soon. I don't remember when. And then I looked at my email. I was like, oh shit, it's next week. Like, oh, I guess I'm good. I'm gonna finish it. I mean, the Tough Mudder is not a race, although it is now. You can choose to do a race format. I think. I haven't done one of those since they changed the format, but you can either do like an event that's just like to participate, and there's waves, and there's not really a timed thing, or you can do the timed event where it's like you're competing. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know. I kind of like the camaraderie aspect of the Tough Mudder. Like, it's like, help your friend out. We're getting over these obstacles together. It's not really like you're not trying to throw dirt in anybody's face. You're trying to help people,
Yeah.
get through things. People you maybe don't know, or people if you brought a group with you. It could be team building, or camaraderie exercise.
You know what's funny? Like, one, I don't like mud, so I'm never going to do one. I just don't. I don't do it.
Yeah.
So if I never race motocross, I'm like, I'm not doing it. But yeah, helping each other over is actually annoyed me a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
I like the idea of, like if your group of friends are doing it, you can do it. But like, in my mind, if you can't do the obstacle, that's where your race should end, and then you should go train and come back, and then that's where you should get back over it. But like, I don't know. That's how I am with things. I'm like, if I couldn't get over this, I'm like, I don't want your help. I'm gonna leave and go train, and then I'll be back. And the next one, I'll get over this, and then I'll worry about that next one.
Yeah. Well, there were most of them, like 99% of them, you could do by yourself. But I think there was like one or two that you had to have a partner. Like, it was just way too far to possibly reach. And so you had to use a team, or you had to like wait for somebody. Or like there's one, like there's a warrior carry where you do a piggyback ride basically for 100 yards. You carry somebody, and then you switch, and then they carry you. So stuff like that. But yeah, there'd be some obstacles where I'm like, I could get over this, no problem. But this lady kind of needs a hand, so I'm gonna give her a hand. I'll wait here for a second and get two people up, because I did it by myself, but they look like they need help. So it's kind of, we can wait around and help people out too, and make friends that way.
So it's a good way of being social. So it's a nice thing about being split for the competitive and the not competitive side. So like, yeah, your assholes like myself would be over there on the competitive side, like, you can't make it.
Or there's people always hold. I don't know if they still have this, but for a little while they had an electroshock section where you literally get like electrocuted as you go through. So some people will hold hands, so it like passes through you slower. I don't know if that really helped, because we did that and I still fell to my face in the mud. But
Funny thing is, from having livestock and like electric fences, this is a trick we used to do to me and my brothers do each other. You grab their hands and grab the fence, because you won't get shocked, but he will.
whoever's ever on the end of it, right?
Exactly. So whenever like you would go out to the fence, and we'd always be like backing away from the other one. Other people are like, "What are you guys doing?" I'm like, "Oh, you don't know. Nothing. Come over here."
I'll show you.
Yeah, but then next time those people come over, that like you start walking over towards the fence again, they start backing away from everybody.
Yeah, I don't trust you anymore.
It's like my mom's always like, "Why do you guys do that all the time?" We're like, well, it shocks people, so you have to.
And it's so mild. It's not really. It's a deterrent. It's not going to kill you.
Well, so originally it was, but you can turn it up to the point where it burns. And because we had one very determined cow who actually didn't want to run away, it just wanted to be on the other side of the fence. We could move that fence wherever we wanted. He just wanted to be on the other side. So he would just stand there. So we had to keep turning it up because of him.
He's like, this doesn't do nothing for me. This is just warm.
Exactly. He would just look at you too, like, you can't stop me. Yeah. Then sometimes he would go hop back over on his own. Yours kind of stinks. You broke 2 posts. I'm gonna be out here for the next couple of hours fixing this just because you want to make a point.
I guess I don't think I've ever seen an animal run into an electric fence. Are they like stunned or like, holy shit, what just happened?
Honestly, cows are so tough that you can just hear it zapping as they're leaning against it. And they'll just kind of back up, look at it like, huh, and they'll lean back into it.
They're just not affected by it. Well, they have different sense receptors. I don't know how they feel their skin.
Well, they're used to like barbed wire and stuff like that too, because they'll just use barbed wire to scratch.
Yeah.
So you need something that needs to be turned up pretty high. But most of the time, you'll see them. They'll rub against it, and then they'll look around, and they'll back up, they'll look at it, and be like, oh, it's one of those. So they just kind of walk off. Like it doesn't actually like hurt them or bother them at all.
So you have livestock, or you have some farm animals?
I used to at my old house. My old house was out in the middle of nowhere. My brother rescues horses, so we were keeping all of his horses there, and then you have pastures. So let's get some cows, and then we had like a little like flat track behind. It was more like a road course that you could go out there and play on. So that was kind of nice. But after a while, you get tired of being in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you got to drive. I mean, if you're out there, you're really out there in the middle of nowhere, and then you got to drive 45 minutes to get anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you could ride dirt bikes all the time. It's just different lifestyle.
Yeah, that was the one nice thing is like you could get rid dirt bikes all the time, whenever you want. So nearly every day after I got off work, we'd go out there for like an hour or two and rip around.
You just made your own track with cones, or it eventually had like a rutted in sort of track?
Well, the grass would grow up so tall back there. We just go back there and mow a course out, and then you just follow it. And it was like being inside walls because the grass was like 3 feet high. Yeah. And then you'd use like some of the trees for because no matter what, people are gonna clip the corners and it'll mow in a little bit. Yeah. So then you always try to find where like trees were to set it out. That way you ain't gonna clip a tree.
Yeah. Very good. That sounds like a blast, man. I'd love to have a plot of my own land someday and just ride like that. I've never really had a dirt bike, so just to explore and to ride on your own in the middle of nowhere sounds like a blast. I got like all my gear, although I sold my boots, but I just need to get some new ones for motocross. I got some Alpine Star Super Tex. I guess those will be fine. I mean, do you really have to have dirt boots if you're riding in your backyard? Would Super Tex be fine?
Yeah, I said that's what I used was the road boots on that because I said we were pretty much doing like a road course, so we just use those. It was just like a little KLX 125L, so the tall one, and they had like
no jumps.
We didn't have any jumps. We didn't have any jumps. We just had just flat trails, and a couple of turns were flat. A couple of we dug up some berms a little bit that you can hit and rail, but for the most part, it was just sliding around and just getting laps in. We just tried to keep it so tight and twisty that you couldn't really build up a whole lot of speed. That way you're always finding the bike going. So yeah, and then we just set timers and we just go battle each other for like 30 minutes at a time. But then usually towards the end of that, you're kind of looking down the bars like, is it over? Is it over?
That's a long time, yeah.
Oh yeah, especially when you're just like, there was no straightaways, just left, right, left, right, left, right. The whole time you're battling, bouncing off each other because we're brothers. So, we're elbowing and kicking and
not making it easy for each other probably to get by.
Oh, not at all. There's more than a few times we came back with like broken fingers and hands, and Chase broke his foot one time, and because we would just be taking each other out like all the time. And it was like you guys gotta be calmer. We're like, no, it's fine. It's all grass field. It's like, why he's got a cast on his head? Nothing. It wasn't related.
I kind of think the style of the leg dangle is not only for balance, but it's for putting your leg out so a competitor can't pass you up as easy up the inside.
Yeah, I do that. I said, I'm a big guy with tree trunks for legs. So sometimes if I'm going into like, especially like turn 5 at Summit where you have a a really fast left-hander, and then you slam on brakes, it's a really tight or really fast right-hander. It goes into a really, really tight, like bottom of second gear left-hander. Whenever I go into that one, I'm just stick my leg out and just take the inside line. It's like you're gonna have to push to this leg if you want to come.
And is it acceptable to hit someone's foot if you're trying to pass them, or is that you can't do that? Because they could move their foot if they see you. You're probably hit their knee before you actually run over their foot anyway, right?
Honestly, I've pushed limbs out of the way going through, and I've had people do it to me, so it ain't too bad. It's just, I think sometimes you might get a little psychological block on people just for having something in the way.
Right, you're like, oh, he's got something there. I can't go there.
Exactly. The other people are like, there's an 1/8 inch of asphalt. My tires will fit on that.
Yeah. Something I don't know if I should tell people. It's a tip, but you don't actually need 3 feet to pass someone. You just need just the amount of space for your tire to be on the ground, and you could be leaning over the entire grass. You know, as long as there's not a raised curbing there that you'd hit your foot peg or something.
Yep. I've totally made those passes before, especially coming out of turn 3 at Summit, because or I think it's actually getting ready to go into 4, because there's like this little apron that kind of sticks out a little bit, and people always block the whole track, but they don't block that little bit of apron. So a lot of the regulars there will just shoot onto that and go right around.
Yeah, it's the insider knowledge from being there multiple times. You can pick up that data, pick up that info.
Yeah, it's like, everyone knows the little quirks of the track, like the spot where you can kind of clip the grass, or, you know, like this pot over here of gravel actually is really hard. You can run across that. Yeah. Like everyone's got the little inside knowledge there.
I got a question for you about data. If say Kawasaki team in super sport class, same class as your bike, had their bike set up, had all the same suspension parts on it that you had, and they were selling their data for their riders as like an average of the two, or maybe specific riders' datas. Would you think that would be valuable to try to test out someone else's setup in a world championship setting? Would that be maybe hard to get to grips with, or would you think it'd be a good starting point? But maybe the tracks they go to are different anyways, so it's hard to say.
Honestly, I think it would help. Because I know from like getting this, I was so busy because it's the brand new, it's the 21. But not a lot of people are using the 19 or newer ZX6s. So I mean, I was literally running around asking anyone that had one of those bikes any questions. Like trying to figure out gearing alone was a nightmare on it. And then I finally, a friend of mine, Ryan Jones, I was talking to him. He's unbelievable, like one of the best guys on the East Coast. And he was like, oh yeah, here's my gearing. Also, you need to make this adjustments to your suspension. And he's just like rattling things off the top of his head. I was like, back up, say that part again.
Let me record that.
Exactly, yeah. Like every single thing he said was now done to the bike right now. So I'm now just sitting there waiting, like, let's go test it out. I just need some track time.
Some people, they might have same data, but they can't, or the same settings as far as like suspension setup or spring rate, but they might ride the bike completely differently, so that setup might not apply to them. So it's like a hit or miss sometimes, I think, but I'd try it out. I'd try out a world championship feel and how he likes his bike. I think that could be useful knowledge. Maybe he would tell me bullet holes in my riding if you take the setup changes, or how it'd be different.
That's kind of like when you're coaching someone when you're riding. Like the same things that you would tell like a novice off the street would actually have zero relevance to a racer. Like that's the one weird thing about like coaching track days. The same with like it's like the opposite in jiu-jitsu, because like in jiu-jitsu, when you're teaching people the same basics that you're telling the brand new guy, world champions are still doing that. I've been doing it 20 years later. Whereas a lot of the stuff that you're telling the novice guys on track, it's just to get them to the next step. And then once they get to that step, you teach them a whole other set of things, and that gets them to the next step. Because if you just try to tell them like, go curb to curb, hang way off the bike, you have to aim for this little build, everyone's just going to run off the track into the
they're probably going to crash, and it's not going to be a good situation. But I felt a little, I don't know, betrayed in a way, because I felt like, oh, he lied to me. That's not really how you do it. But I think you should have this conversation with new riders. Like you should we're teaching you how to go around the track safely first without going off the track. And then you can like get a little bit faster, and then you can work on your craft, but you can't go balls to the wall, 100% pedal to the floor your first couple of track days. It's going to end really badly. So you gotta slowly, take everything in and be a sponge, and then learn how to go fast once you learn the terms of breaking point and apex and like turn out and all these different things. So it's just
especially if guys are being kind of argumentative, that's when you're kind of here. This is what you need to be doing, and they try to be like, no, I'm better than that, so I'm doing this, and you're kind of okay. This is what I do, and they look at you with their eyes all bugged out. I'm like, see, I'm trying to get you to this point. There's steps. Listen.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you gotta be humble, and you gotta be willing to throw away your old style, which I think a lot of people get hung up on, their old habits or bad habits. I didn't have any habits because I didn't really ride at a racetrack, or I didn't think I was fast. I just wanted to be at a racetrack and learn from people. So I was always like, okay, just tell me what to do. I'll do that. I want to learn from you.
That it is very easy to get stuck in bad habits too. That's what I've spent the last half of this year after I got onto this bike, learning that I had a lot of bad habits from my last bike, and then from coaching is kind of a mixed bag. You kind of get some bad habits from coaching the slower riders because you're not doing everything like you normally do, so you tend to get a little lazy on some things. Well, once I hopped on this, and then it's like, okay, my old bike's no longer an excuse. I went faster than I did on the old bike, but I'm still looking around like I should be doing so much better. And then basically just had to clean slate, throw everything away. Let's just start over again like I don't know anything. That's pretty much what I did halfway through the year. I just hit complete and total reset on all of my riding. So
I would actually find it very difficult to ride the way you're supposed to ride, or the right technique when you're going slow, right? To put your body in that right position is difficult because now you don't have the right centrifugal forces that you need to be in that position, right?
Yep. Cause I always tell everyone, like, trying to get them to get off the center of the bike when they're beginners. I'm like, just start working on trying to get like half a butt cheek off to the side. Just work on moving over before you go into the turn. And what's going to happen is it's going to want to pull you to the inside of the turn. And you're naturally going to start adding a little more speed just because you're going to want to counteract that and getting hurled to the inside of the turn. So you can use that to help walk them up if you do it correctly, but also you can give some bad advice and send someone off into the weeds if you don't explain it all the way through.
For sure. I'm sure there's some coaching blunders in there, but it's all just trying to help people, and in the end, they've got the throttle in their hand, and you tell them so much, right?
Exactly. After a while, it's like I can't sit there and talk to you while you're on the bike. I can't control everything for you. I can only tell you, and you can go do it.
Yeah, it's like I can show you how to do it. I'll tell you how to do it, and then you got to go try to do it. And you might not get it right, but then I'll show you again. But you just got to keep trying. But something that as you progress, you'll realize something that it just amazed me how fantastic these machines are. A stock motorcycle with DOT street tires without tire warmers has so much grip that you can drag your knee, and most people just hold themselves back from what the bike is actually capable of doing. You're just the bike is already capable of everything. You just need to allow it to do that.
Yep.
So it's getting past all your own mental fears and your own blocks.
That's also similar for even if you're an advanced level already. Like this ZX6, when I was trying to talk to guys about like how to set up for it and everything, and what motor work you have done, all this. Well, Ryan Jones goes, well, I was doing 113s around Summit with a bone stock motor. He was like, you don't really need that much. It's got a pretty good one. He goes, because most of the bike was actually stock when I was doing that. We're just like, 600, 113s on a mostly stock bike. He goes, yeah, the bikes are pretty good. We're just like, me and a buddy of mine, he got a brand new one as well. We're just looking at each other, looking at him like, we suck so bad.
It's just like, where do you make up 4 seconds or whatever the time is,
Yep.
It's like I'm doing this Seto Corsa video game for sim racing, and there's this new track I'm doing. I think it's Alton Park, UK track. I've done it a couple times before, but it's not that familiar with me. and I'm like 4 seconds off the time. So I'm just
Yeah.
kind of fooling around, and there's one lap I didn't use the chicane. I just went straight, and I got the time that I was supposed to get. I was like, how? I'm going my full pace without using the chicane, and that's where is he finding this time? It's like I think I'm pretty fast here, but it's I've only done the track a couple of days, so I'm sure there's way more time to be found, but it's just like
Yeah, same thing happened at the Ridge when Moto America went there. They put that chicane in. The Superbike guys from Moto America were doing I think they said they're doing the same lap or they're going faster than the previous lap record that didn't use the chicane.
That's wild, and that's a pretty tight chicane there.
Yeah, the whole track's pretty tight, so it's not like there's a spot where they use all that power and open up like Mid Ohio or Road America or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like no, it's like a go-kart track.
Yeah, and that's I think where I want to say Kyle Wyman got caught up in that one of those melees in the chicane there, and there's that's where they use a separate start, right? They don't use that on the start. They have that they don't use that type of start very many places, where they use a separate start on the separate lap on the start, and then they use the chicane for the second lap. Only other place I can think of would be
Daytona.
what is it?
Daytona.
Daytona. Yeah, they do it at Daytona, I guess.
Yeah.
There's one in California that has a drag strip.
Oh, Sonoma.
Sonoma. Yeah, Sonoma does that, but it's pretty rare.
Yeah, it seems like it's mostly the NASCAR tracks, the big ovals that they do that with.
What, they just decide that we can't have a chicane for our first turn? It's too clustered.
Well, they did run it the first year, or I think they ran it, and then they were talking about taking it out and then running without because it would be safer. But then they said that the turn after was so sketchy it made it worse. But going by how every class had to be restarted at least once, I think it might be worth trying the other way.
That's interesting. It's like, are some layouts just too dangerous?
So one of my my local tracks, NC Bike, that they did the same with them because if you go clockwise, which is the way they normally ran it, you had this super fast, like over 100-mile-an-hour right-hand sweeper. But I'm totally blanking, and he's gonna kill me. But one of the local guys around here that like wins everything, he crashed there on a track day and like put his bike like past the woods.
Oh no!
And it ended up having to be hella backed out. So after that, they're like, no, we're doing it the other way. But if you go the other way, you have a really, really long straightaway into a, I'm not joking, 50-mile-an-hour hairpin that goes off camber with a dip in the middle of it. So like you can't even trail brake into it because you'll lose the front, wipe out. So that was just kind of like you'll launch, and then it's kind of like I either want to be the first one through that turn or I want to be the last one through that turn. Like those are the only two positions you're safe.
Everybody else is up for grabs.
Exactly. And then I had like a terrifying start there this year because it started raining just before the race, and I was on slicks. So I was like, screw it, I'm going out there. I went out, and then I got a really good start, and I'm like bobbing past people, and I'm like, oh wait, it's raining. I'm on slicks, and I just shot straight through the group out the other side. Then slowly got slowed and turned around, and had to very much start back from last and work my way back forward.
Yeah, I think sometimes in rain races, people go their fastest lap sometimes on the first lap, and then they scare the shit out of themselves, and they went a lot slower the next laps.
That's pretty much how rain tires are. They give you so much confidence, and then they don't, and then you're like, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, it's super easy to lose it. I mean, talking about rain tires, when do you think they should call a race? When do you think they should stop it? Is there a certain level of water on the track that's too much, or any level, or is it any standing water, or 2 inches, or like when do you call that?
I think it depends on the track, to be honest. Like, that's one thing coming from doing some car stuff. Like, it could be snowing, they'll still be going around because there's like, just go slower. So that's the one thing is you can only ride to the conditions, and if everyone's eating it, then same thing you tell everyone at a track day, like maybe you're pushing a little too hard. Sometimes it's better to just stay upright.
Now, what if it's a superbike race and all 3 podium finishers crash out of the race and still finish on the podium?
Hey, it was good entertainment. I will say that. It was very entertaining.
Hey, I'm not saying anybody made any mistakes. I'm just talking about the situation. Like, should there be anything changed? Like, Matthew Skoltz hydroplaning on a straightaway. At a certain point, any racetrack just doesn't have anywhere for that water to go. Once there's 3 feet of water coming down, it's just there's a limit.
Well, that's one thing that I was listening to a podcast with Liam McDonald, and he came from like Malaysia, like the Malaysian area racing. And he says there's times they would go out for races. He said you couldn't even see in front of you because it's raining so hard. But the locals are used to it. He said it's not a problem. They take off and go, and you're just kind of like, where is the track?
You see the lights go off or the flag.
Yeah, exactly. He said you couldn't see anything at all. But he said there would be hardly any crashes, and everyone would go around because they were just used to it.
Yeah.
But I think, as I said, I think it depends on the track, because if you have like that one at Barber, the way it's all up and down twisted, that's gonna make rivers go across no matter what you do.
Yeah.
But same time, when we were in Summit Point, used to have a really bad habit of water pooling. So there's some like pictures from a few years ago where the inside turn 5 was like mid-shin deep. We were still racing on slicks out there. And then there was coming out of turn, or still in turn 2 when you were leaned over, there was this big river that was going across that just, if it rained throughout the weekend, that wouldn't dry. It would run the entire time. And it was deeper than if you put your hand in it. And it's in a part where you're, coming out of a turn, second or probably third gear by then, and you're wide open throttle driving. So all we would do is we would just hammer it, get going. Then as you hit that point, you just stand the bike up, stay off the side, just shimmy, and just drop the bike back over and keep going.
You got to modify, right? You got to change it up.
Exactly. You got to adjust. Same with like turn 5. When that puddle started building, everyone just started going really wide on the outside all the way around. So, I mean, there was like a World Superbike race a few years ago. It was like that, where it rained really hard and then stopped. There was puddles everywhere. And Tom Sykes like got this outrageous lead just because he completely threw away the race line and just drove where the dry asphalt was. So he was like all over the place. Like he had no idea what he was doing. Yeah. But he was just leading everyone.
Yeah, you can. There's always it's always a risk in the rain races, but people can shine because some people don't want to push as hard, and a lot of the mid-pack guys can come and shine through easier than if it was a dry race.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like all those big money advantages that the big teams have kind of goes a little bit out the window when you have no grip, and all of a sudden all that stuff you pay all that extra money for to get that extra 5% grip. That 5%'s not there anymore. So it's like back to square one. Everyone's kind of on the same page a little bit. I guess the only guys then that have a big advantage are, the guys with the crazy expensive electronic people. And I guess anyone who does a lot of dirt track and slides around, because they're probably happier and all get out.
Oh, for sure. So you got endurance racing coming up this year. So you've been, I assume, training a little differently, trying to do longer stints and would that be like 45 minutes at a time, probably?
I've been doing 2-hour workouts.
Oh, for being on the bike, how long would your stints probably be? Like 45?
So for that, I haven't really been worrying about like how long the stints are going to be for training, because I have the quick fill, so it only takes me 17 seconds to fill or less than 17 seconds to do a whole tank of gas.
And it's like a pressurized like dump can where you just put it on your gas cap and it just shoots it all in there with the air pressure or gravity?
Well, this one it's not air pressure, it's gravity. But the piece that actually drops in to dump it is, it's like about that tall, and it's about that big around, and that's all open. So it just dumps, and it's got a big bit that comes through that's actually like I think like 3/4 or 1 inch PVC pipe, and that's the vent that comes up to let all the air out. Yeah. So it actually hits so hard it'll squirt some of it out the sides a little bit as it's going. So so I have that to actually dump it all really fast. So for the most part, I don't really I'll get a little bit more of a break on pit stops than I will if I was going on the straightaway. But this year I was dealing with a back injury, so a lot of the pit stops I ended up taking longer just to let my back kind of stretch a little bit so I could go again. But I should be actually, it's not really bothering me now, so I should be good next year without that. So I'll actually be able to run, because there's more than a few races where I could have got a really good result if I didn't have to take that extra break, because it was to the point where I couldn't look up anymore.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, you take a 30 or 40 second break on the pit stop and move around. There's one I just sat down for a minute, and it's like I can't move my head, like my head's stuck like this. And then one
chiropractor or anything?
Well, it's muscle is what it is. Muscle. Yeah, so it came from a rock climbing injury where or a climb or a hold actually broke, and I was doing a lot of pressure this way, and my arm yanked.
Ooh.
And it tore a muscle in my rotator cuff. I was really kind of stuck like this for like 3 weeks. And then I re-injured it rock climbing on a big fall. And then when I crashed out of New Jersey, that's the muscle the foot peg decided to go through. So like somehow I managed to target this one thing every time something bad goes.
Man, yeah, they say I don't know if this is really true, but I was told that you're supposed to take your kickstand off because you could get impaled by it. But then you still got your handlebars, your foot pegs, like all these other parts that could injure you. But you can't ride without those. You need those.
Exactly. The other thing with the kickstand too, I think it's just if it falls down, because I see people do that a lot in working at a dealership, because people drive off the kickstand down and then they'll go turn and flip the other way.
I think every newbie's done that at least once. Like, oh crap, don't do that again. Like,
well, the funny thing is the Harleys, they call it a jiffy stand, so it's spring loaded, so it doesn't lock unless the weight's on it. So sometimes if it doesn't lock in all the way, they'll just randomly fall over. Especially if it's like sitting on like the edge of a tile or something inside. So you just be sitting there like all by yourself working, and also hear like crash. You look over, there's a bike laying outside. You're like,
oh no.
Everyone here.
Yeah, I guess I haven't had a bike with a kickstand in a long time. None of my bicycles have them, and track bikes never have them.
Yeah, I think the only thing that we have with a kickstand, my girlfriend's mountain bike has a kickstand. And my GS, my street bike, I took the kickstand off because it had a center stand. I always never used the center stand. Yeah. So I just took the kickstand off. I'm like, I'm never going to use this.
Just lean it up against a building or a truck or a tire or something. It'd be fine.
Yeah. Well, I said that one had the center stand, though. So, like, it's popped up even. I just like that thing so much. I was like, if all street bikes should have center stands. Like, once you start using them, you'll be like, these things are awesome.
I guess the problem is on my dad's scooter, it hung down way too low, and I would drag the center stand, like on the turns.
So with the GS, I'll say, well, with the GS 500, it was where the thing is to push down, it would hit your heel. So you always felt like one foot had a footboard and the other foot had a foot peg. It was kind of weird. Yeah. You have to say, sometimes you'd be leaning really far over and you would just push your heel down on it and you start sparking.
I got a random question for you. So what item on a bike do you think it'd be interesting to have to race without? Whether it's steel braided brake lines, switch back to rubber, whether it's like a no steering stabilizer, what item would be kind of weird and crazy to have to not use? That's very helpful. Like a stabilizer, that might change things because some people set it up super high and they don't have full, control over maybe the pitch or the yaw of their bike.
I won't lie. My bike currently does not have a steering stabilizer. I just need to buy the brackets for it. I have the one left over from my old bike, and going without it is a little unnerving at first. It's just because also it has that full width to go. Because I never run them to heavy. I just ran it real light enough that the bars can't yank out of my hands. Yeah. But all of a sudden, when those bars can yank around freely, and it's a lot more lively bike, you're like, so I really need to get one of those. Yeah. I'm trying to think something. I know without a quick shifter would drive most people insane.
Yeah, most of the time I didn't have one of those, and you lose time every single lap. Every shift you're losing time on shifting up. I mean, you don't have to use a clutch, but you're still losing time getting off the gas.
Yeah, but I think some people are so used to it now. A friend of mine actually didn't race 2 races this year because he got the new ZX10, and you couldn't get the little thing for plugging into it to flip the quick shift for doing the GP shift, so he just didn't race. Really? He's like, I can't. He goes, I'm losing time. It's just too awkward. I might hit it the wrong way. And I'm like, I would have just went. Yeah, so I know people are just relying on them nowadays. That, I think, is slipper clutch. Yeah, you take the slipper clutch away from people. If they go back to having to lock up on it, it might open their eyes a little. Yeah, those two things I didn't have for many years. Only time I had a working quick shifter and a slipper clutch was when I had my Triumph for like a couple weekends in 2015. Every other race I did was on my Kawasaki's, and those were no slipper clutch in there. You can see my rear tires skipping all over the place in braking zones. You can see the camera shaking. That's because my tires bouncing off the ground. And you couldn't probably see my hands in the video, but you could hear the shifts and like probably count it with a stopwatch. Like, that's too slow. Well, that's how. So the last 2 years this year and last year was the only time I ever had a slipper clutch on the Triumph, and I bought a new motor that was already built, and it had an STM slipper clutch in it. And I'm sitting there like, this is what everyone else is riding with. This is amazing, because I was doing all my late braking, like you said, having to play with the clutch, drag it, slip it, and try to do it all manually. Then I switched over to this one. This one comes with a slipper clutch, but it grips a lot more. It has a lot more drag to it. And the STM was like a bicycle freewheel. Like, I swear, you can just put it in six and just dump the clutch rolling down pit lane, and it would just keep rolling.
Wow.
So, yeah, this thing's got a lot more drag to it. So at first I didn't like it. It was a little unnerving. I kept it looked like I was panic braking a little bit, trying to get adjusted to it. But now I'm just kind of like, just let it slide, let it drift. Like, it's just an anchor.
Sure, it's another brake, really.
Exactly. It hooks enough that you can feel the drag, but it doesn't hook so much to actually cause the hopping and skipping and bouncing around. So, like, once you get used to it, you're like, it's not that bad.
I mean, you got like what, 4 or 5 brakes on a motorcycle, right? You got a front brake, rear brake, aerodynamic brake, maybe Fred Flintstone brake. I don't know.
The Rocky Tangle.
Yeah. Well, that's like aerodynamic category maybe. But if you stick your foot on the ground, I mean, that's added friction.
Yeah.
People sometimes ask, doesn't it hurt when you drag your knee on the ground? Well, sometimes if you get your knee puck ripped off, that doesn't feel good.
I've done that before, and also it's like, why is my knee warm? And you're like, man, what's running down my leg? Or you look at like you go straight away, you kind of look over, and you're like, crap.
And then you can't touch your knee, so you're like, you feel awkward because you don't want to touch your knee now, so you're bringing it into your bike.
Yep. And I had a guy I was coaching that he was like, I'm done for today. I'm like, why? He was like, keep dragging my toes. I'm like, that doesn't make sense why you're done for the day. He goes, no, I actually grabbed into my toes. Like, I need to get a new pair of boots. Like, why are you dragging your toes so much?
Yeah, I ruined a pair of boots in about an hour doing the same things. First time using them, brand new boots, and I just dragged my toes. That was my style. It was just how I put my foot on the foot peg. All my foot pegs are as high as they can go, front and forward, and it's just, I didn't have the magnesium toe sliders. I had the plastic ones on there. I usually have the magnesium ones, and so stupid. That's like a $400 mistake.
Yep. That's what this year I had to finally get a new pair of boots. I've been using the same pair of TCXs for like 4 years, I think, 3 or 4 years. They're the old ones that had like you could air them up, that air bladder on the inside, so that way they perfectly fit. Yeah, it was so nice. I love those. But one thing I found out was like, it's the little things you don't think about when you switch between bikes. The exhaust on this one's a low side exit. Well, the Triumph was an undertail.
Oh yeah.
So whenever I would do race starts, the exhaust gas would be going right on my shin. We'll end up popping that air bladder. So all of a sudden it was like one was no matter what, I could never tighten it up, and then the other one was loose. So I was like, I actually have to buy a new pair of boots. No.
Wow. I would have never thought it would actually pop it, but yeah, it's hundreds of degrees.
Yeah, it melted straight through the like the whole top where that bubble is on the front. Like it melted that. It melted the all the stuff on the inside, and it melted the inside part to my leathers.
And those are, you said TCX?
Yep.
And those are a great boot company. So here's some free R&D for you, TCX.
Exactly. Put a little heat shield right there.
Yeah. And that's only a certain problem with certain bikes. Like it's not a problem with a Triumph with the undertail, like you said, but if it's right there, do you think there would be more heat capturing devices? Well, I guess everything's going electric, so there's not going to be as much heat generated in the first place.
Well, they should get pretty hot. That's the big problem with the electrics is the batteries get too hot, so you have to cool them down. So that's why a lot of the Energica and all, they have the big radiators on them. But the new Stark bike, the way they did the batteries, they don't need radiators and they stay cooler longer. So, give a problem enough time, someone will come up with a solution, it seems like. So it looks like they finally came up with something for them, because that's what I said, because I used to race cars. I love watching car stuff, especially like Pikes Peak. Yeah. And the first year that the electric cars came out, it was really, really cold, and they were able to just destroy everyone going up the mountain. Well, the next year is a little warmer, and then ever since it's been a little warmer than that first year. So they actually the batteries start to overheat, and then they start losing power at the top the same way the gas ones do as they go up with the lack of air.
They each have their own disadvantages under certain conditions, unless for the electric, maybe you create like some sort of like encapsulated environment that it can't be affected by that, like Faro cage or something. I don't know, that's maybe too extreme for that, but if you like created its own ecosystem.
I say, because especially like Pikes Peak, I mean, you're gonna do like a sub 10-minute run, just pack that battery with ice all the way around it, and just go.
Yeah, cheap solution. Like sometimes smarter, not harder, right? You don't have to spend $100,000 in R&D. Just get some dry ice, maybe, right?
Exactly. Sometimes the best little nifty tricks. I remember there was a NASCAR guy back in the day trying to figure out a way to get more fuel in there because they limited the size of the fuel tank, but they didn't limit how much hose you could have. So you use 2 whole spools of hose to get extra like 3 gallons in there.
Oh wow, that's that. Sometimes people get mad when you race to the rule book, but I'm like, everybody else is doing it. You don't think I'm going to?
Exactly. Bikes doesn't seem quite as bad because the thing with bikes is like the guy on the bike makes a bigger difference than the bike does most of the time. Cars, you see some crazy crap go down with cars.
Yeah.
There's another one that was a World Rally team. It was the Toyota team. I want to say it was in the 90s. They made a thing so that when the turbo hit a certain point, they had a restrictor plate on so they couldn't suck in more air. Well, once they got to a certain point, the gaskets that they used would actually shrink, pulling through, so they could pull air in through around the restrictor plate. When the FIA busted them, the lead engineer guy who came up with the rules said it was the most beautiful piece of engineering he ever seen. It actually took one of the things and hung it on the wall in his office. He was like, "It's amazing." He was, "I just love that you guys came up with that. You're still kicked out, but
yeah, you're still disqualified, but great job."
Yeah, you guys did an awesome job at getting disqualified.
It's like a hacker that gets recruited to work for the government.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it was Robbie Gordon got busted for something like that too, because what he did was for Dakar, yeah, he had the spare tires on the back. What he would do is he'd air the spare tires up to like 150 psi, and then they had a hose that went from those into the intake, so that way he could hit it and blow extra air in whenever he needed it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Very ingenuitive and innovative, creative. It's just amazing what they can come up with. But something I was thinking of that I hope will be a real thing is like a real, I mean, there already is a Moto E series, right? But that's one class. I would like to see like a four class series, say like a junior, maybe like a mini class, Ovale type, but all electric series. So you got the Ovale series, maybe a 190. You got the 250 class, 400 now. You got the 600/765, whatever that is, middleweight class, and then a top class where maybe they could work on developing just like a Formula One for Moto E for an electric motorcycle. So you could have like the entry level classes that are spec classes that are not designed, or maybe they're all spec classes, but it'd be cool to have one that's like a development class.
I just want to see if we get to the point where they're going against the gas. Like that's what because even if like
field?
Yeah, exactly, a mixed field. Because even I know it's like Le Mans when Porsche was destroying everyone there for a few years. Their car that they used was an electric race car. It only had a 4-cylinder diesel motor that was a generator. Yeah. So it had a generator that powered the batteries. The batteries powered the electric motors, and the motor, I think it only really powered the car to like get out of pit lane or something like that. Like, and it was almost never used for actually driving the car, and they destroyed everyone. And then they actually took that and just removed the gas powered motor, just put a bigger battery pack in it, and started doing like lap records with the same car.
Amazing. I just I guess I haven't done enough research into the technology to talk about it. I don't know what's in it or how it really works anymore.
Yeah, electric is when I step out. Like I've never been great with electric stuff, even if it's like electronic problem solving on a bike or something like that. I get someone else. It's not my thing.
I got to get out my schematics and blueprints and my magnifying glass and figure out what's going on here.
Oh, exactly. I remember I was going to when I was at MMI, we got to the electronics class, and you have how those schematics are. I just went to Kiko's and blew that thing up to like a 10-foot by 10-foot. Yeah. We had to like order it, and I just laid it down in the middle of the floor. My instructor was like, "You're a smart ass, but I like where this is going."
Yeah, man, it's just a whole new world. It's something you don't know what you don't know, and there's a lot more I don't know about electronics and electrical, being an electrician. There's so many rabbit holes you can go down.
Well, the other thing with those too is we sit there and act like it's so like difficult and like crazy engineering. I just tell everyone it's just different. Because if you try to sit there and take like, you know, Joe Blow, old school Harley guy who's only uses a carburetor because you can adjust it with a screwdriver, and you start telling him about the stuff that the motocross guys with carb bikes are doing to their bikes, he's gonna sit there and have his mind blown. And then you take those guys and you tell them what the GP guys do, and they'll be sitting there like, what in God's name?
Man, it comes to mind. I heard about this this one joke this comedian was saying, not my joke, and I forget who it was, so I can't attribute. I'm sorry, but he was saying like, imagine if you were taken back to hundreds of years ago, and you knew about all this technology that was created, and you were explaining it to them. But you're like, but I don't know how they did. I don't know how to make it or anything. But all this stuff exists. They think you're crazy. Like you're a bullshit artist. Like, come on, a computer and these telephones. Like the world would be no different. Like I couldn't tell them how to make any of this stuff.
Yep. That's most people nowadays. They get upset about things not working and all that, but they couldn't tell you the first thing about how it actually works.
Yeah, like my phone's taking 14 seconds to load a web page. Like I'm getting pissed off. Oh, it's taking too long. Like I don't know how to make one of these or make it faster. Like
yeah, I think there was a YouTube video I watched where the guy was talking about how much we take everything for granted. So what they did is they tried to make a toaster, which is like a very simple electronic device entirely from raw materials.
Yeah,
and it is like hours long in a series of everything they had to go through to make this one toaster. When they got done with it, like it started toasting and then the whole thing melted down.
That's a fire. That's a disaster. That one blew up. You know, that one, I cut my finger on it.
Exactly. He was even showing like what it takes to make the wire and everything. Like they went through actually making this thing from raw materials, every single part.
Wow.
And yeah, it's funny because just little things like you have people complain about how much like a relay is. I'm always like, have you ever cut that plastic off and looked inside of a relay? It's amazing. You get that for $11.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're incredibly fortunate, but still hungry for more. I think it's part of like the human nature of things, like to never be happy, but you want to be happy sometimes, but you also want more. So how do you balance like wanting more all the time with still finding time to be happy? You know, it's like the human problem.
That's a favorite example of that is bicycles, road bicycles. Because unless you're actually racing, you can go ride any bicycle and get a workout. And actually, the worse the bike you get, the better a workout is going to be. But then I still have directly under where the phone's sitting this, $5,000 bike with several $1,000 carbon wheels on it. And it has, everything ergonomically made just for me, made as light as possible, as aerodynamic as possible. It's like, am I actually going to have a better ride on this than how this frame was when I got on the stock bike? Probably not.
Yeah.
But it's all there and it's all helping you, and that might be why because all of that stuff probably makes up for 100-watt savings maybe. So like not a giant difference, but it's just in your mind you're gonna go faster because you have all the extra parts. And even then, I occasionally sit there and Google how much the electronic group sets are, so I can pop those on there with the cables. And there's always one more thing that I don't need any of it.
Right. Well, it's like my brother. He got a tri bike, one of those. I think it's a Look brand bike. Yeah. One of those very nice bike. And sometimes they say, "Well, Eric, you can't buy speed." I'm like, "Well, yes, you can. They're to a point, But after a certain point, it might cost you another $10,000 to get like another 3 minutes on your tri time. I don't know. Like it's minuscule amounts once you get to a certain level. But it depends on how invested you are in the sport. Like if you're trying to do it and win the whole thing, the world championship Ironman race, you probably have to have every little bit and piece on your bike just to put you in the running to be able to win the race.
Before that physical even comes into play.
So it depends if you just like to participate like once or twice a year and you like to train and it's a hobby, it's your life, but you still have a full-time job. Maybe your bike doesn't cost $50,000, maybe it costs, 5 or 6,000 instead. So it's just, what do you want to get out of it, and how much are you willing to spend? And even if you spend, I don't know if you could spend 50,000 on a bicycle, even if you spend 10, 20,000 probably for a high level tri bike, like elite pro, everything.
Well, the Pura Elite time trial frame, which is what you would use for something like that, time trialing, it's almost 20 grand for just the frame.
Whew.
Yeah, so like those time trial bikes, that's where the big money comes in. Some of those things, like I think the Bolide Complete, if you get it with everything and the 3D printed handlebars that fit you perfectly and all that, I think it's like 50 grand.
Ooh,
and then
wow.
people are talking about things that teams that bought those added on to that. I'm like, 50 grand, I better not add a single thing onto that bike.
That's with everything it needs.
Exactly.
Man, it's another level, but at that, and those athletes, you'd think they're getting sponsorship, or there's winnings, there's purse money to offset that, and that's a career. Like you have companies who are backing you, and you're doing ads for them. You might be on a cereal box at that point.
Mm-hmm. The funny thing is, like racing, you have your very, very top 5%. They make all the money, and then you have everyone else is paying to be there, or get a little bit of help to be there. Because that's what a lot of people say is first thing they ask, how much do you make doing this for racing? It's kind of like occasionally it covers the next entry. Occasionally they make enough money for one tire. I think the best winnings I've ever had for a weekend covered a tire.
Yeah, it's not about the money. We do it because we love it, and we're pretty good at it, and we like to get better, I think, is a lot of it.
Yep. So there's nothing beats the whole experience of going through a race. So I tell everyone, like, it starts, an hour before the race even starts. You're counting down. You're feeling a little nervous. Like even Nikki Hayden said, if you're ever not nervous, then you don't need to be there.
You got no soul or something. Like if you don't have butterflies, right?
Yep. That was the Dr. Tornado, the Kentucky kid. He's kind of like, he was just smelling the race fuel. He was getting my palm sweat.
See, some people take anxiety or feel anxious differently. Some people take it and say, okay, I know this could be dangerous, but I know what I'm going to do, and I'm going to be calm about it. There's some people who freak out and they're just wild and crazy, and they can't control themselves, and they're stressed out, and it's you can see it visibly. They're pacing back and forth, and maybe they can't eat. They didn't have breakfast because they're not hungry. I never ate much on purpose. I thought that helped me on race day. I would have like granola or some snacks or something small, but like I can't eat a cheeseburger before I race. That's not what you want. I want to be light and not focusing on digesting food. I already got plenty of food in me. I'm not going to die if I don't eat breakfast today. But you want a little bit of nutrients, right? What do you normally have for do you have a meal plan, or just a little bit, obviously tons of liquids?
That's one I'm working on. I'm trying to get in the habit of eating more on, anytime I have an event, whether it's running, cycling, racing, I always have a habit of just eating a whole lot the night before, and then the next day I just have like little snacks throughout the day. I never tend to run out of energy, but it's like in your head that you're going to bonk. So I'm kind of getting in the habit of trying to eat more during the day, but especially like if you have to register in the morning, you're running around so much, you have so much stuff to do, you're frantically trying to make first practice. So you kind of end up just not having the time to properly eat, digest everything. So that's something I've been working on. I know when I used to do long distance running, you trained your body to be able to eat while you're running, because you just had to. You were never going to be able to take a break and do it. Yeah. So I'm kind of working on getting that, trying to figure out what I can have on the fly and still be able to just hop on the bike and go. So that's something I've been working on. If I have a team challenge, I always eat like pasta or rice or something like that for lunch, and some meat there, some protein. And that way I have a little bit of fuel to get all the way through. But I'm one of those people, some people perform best when they have a full stomach, and some people perform better when they have an empty one. I'm one of those guys, like, if I'm just above starving, peak performance. Like, that's where I do the best.
I've actually heard that you perform better because you're getting towards a state of like, you need to be really alert and hunt, otherwise you're going to die. I think that's part of it. So it raises your senses maybe a little bit. Things become maybe more important, or this task is like, I have to do this well. And I find I'm more productive when I'm a little hungry, which is, what is it? It's not keto, but it's intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
Is a big thing now, which puts you in a state of ketosis, right? Is that correct? So I did that for quite a while when I was working at the last job I had. I would just not take a lunch and eat very little breakfast, maybe some oatmeal or something, and just have water and maybe energy drink. And that's about it all day, and then have dinner. So not a whole lot of food throughout the day, but then you can pretty much have whatever you want, food and beer and drinks for dinner. It allows you to do that. But I found, I didn't have to take a lunch break, and I could just work through my shift 8 hours and go straight home, so that I could, come home, work on my business. So that's one way to do it. People get hangry. People get, you get that Snickers 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock feelings, but I think you can definitely push through it. But some people don't want to feel like that when they're also racing. So.
Well, one thing too that a lot of people kind of forget is you don't really need a whole lot of food to get through the day. Like your base metabolic rate is really low. So especially for as much as like how calorie dense all of our food is nowadays. Because I used to do that. Like I just wouldn't eat lunch when I was at work. I would wake up real early. I would go to the gym, and then I would I'm a big breakfast person. Fix a gigantic breakfast. I still do that. And then I would just go no lunch throughout the whole day. I would get off work. I would go cycling for 2 hours, and then I would have a snack, and then I would go to the gym, and then around like midnight I'd eat dinner again, and then I would have like a big blowout dinner. But like, you really don't need that much food to get through the day, especially like a McDonald's #1 meal has more calories than you actually need to get through the day and do a workout.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we just way too big of portions here in the country. It's crazy. You would never put that much salt or those ingredients in the food if you're cooking it yourself. I went to a Steak and Shake a while ago, like during the pandemic, and I guess it's still during the pandemic, and we're hopefully on the tail end of it. And I wanted something like low calorie. I didn't want to have something high fat, and I was gonna go to a frozen yogurt place, but they were closed already. I think it might have been the weekend. It was late, and so I just went to this place, and I just by chance, I was like, "Can I see your nutrition facts?" I'm curious, how much sugar is in like a regular cookies and cream Oreo shake? And it was like over 100 grams of sugar in this like shake. I was like, this is ridiculous. It was not a large. I was like, this is more than you should have in 2 days worth probably of sugar.
Just with sugar, it's like unless you're actually physically doing something very active, like you don't really need sugar. Like it's for quick energy. So like anytime you eat sugar and you're not doing things, it's just going to the hips. It's just going to get stored in your body, and it's just something you have to try to burn off later when it's a lot harder.
Now, what do you think about having like a fruit smoothie every morning? Is that too much? It's like fruit and like strawberries, blueberries, blackberries. I mean, that's good to have. You have antioxidants and you got nutrients in there, but sounds like it could be too much sugar if you're doing it every day.
The best thing with food, and one, everyone's a little bit different. So depending on kind of what you're doing, like for my brother who runs every day, trains rock climbing every day. And when I say runs every day, he doesn't just go for a run. He actually goes like track workouts every single day.
Yeah.
So for someone like him, he has to eat a lot of sugars and fats and all that because he burns everything off so fast. But if it's someone who's kind of like just normal person, may work out once a week, but aside from that, they have their office job and then they go home and they have a beer and they watch TV and mess around the house and do chores and stuff. Someone like that, like, as little calories as possible, or as little sugar as possible is best for that, because anything they eat is just going to get stored in their body. So the main thing I normally tell everyone is don't kind of hang up on kind of, I guess, the what stuff you're eating so much. Just focus on like what calories are in it and just make sure it's well rounded. And it's not try to stay away from processed food when you can. I mean, in the world that we live in nowadays, it's really kind of impossible. So, just try to stay away from it. But the main is just proportions. Just make sure you don't eat, too much.
Yeah.
And Yeah, and just don't eat too often. And for the most part, I always tell everyone, like, if you want to lose like enough weight to keep you really stoked on losing weight, just cut snacks out. Just don't snack. Only eat at a meal. That's it. I mean, you'll lose like, a couple pounds in like a month or two. And you'll be sitting like, man, this is going quick. It's like, yeah, you just had all those extra calories that you actually didn't need. Just your brain's like, I'm bored. Let's get some food.
I was over at my parents for New Year's, and a little bit. I slept over there. Didn't want to drive back last night, so you know, my parents have a food pantry. A lot of places have a pantry. I don't have one. I don't have an actual pantry. But I was making a joke the other day to my mom. I said, "You guys have an entire room that's dedicated for food, not even like separate from your kitchen. You have an entire room of food. Do you realize this?" Like, I was making a big deal out of it. Like it was funny, but yeah, it's like they're offering me popcorn. Do you want popcorn? And I mean, it's a holiday. So
Yeah.
you're gonna offer more snacks and cookies and things, but it's like, hey, we got popcorn, we got cookies, we got this treat and this. I'm like, I'm really not a big snack guy. Like I like a cookie here or there. I was disappointed though. I thought there was chocolate chip cookies. I picked up an oatmeal one. I was like, oh no.
If I'm gonna go full treat, I want to go full treat here, people.
Yeah, I was hoping for that chocolate chip crunch, and I got a raisin. I was like, oh, I mean, it's not bad, but it wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah, that's one thing we do here. We just don't buy snacks for the most part. So I mean, we do popcorn, but it tends to be like, we don't do it very often. But it's just the best way to keep you from falling into that trap is just don't set it.
Oh yeah, that's my problem is if I buy it, I'm probably gonna eat it. I mean, I'm not gonna let it sit there, right? So if it's chocolate, I don't know if I have the willpower to only eat one tiny bar of that Hershey's bar a day. I'm gonna eat like probably the whole bar that day,
Same here. It's like I don't even know why they make was it Pringles cans? I don't even know why they make it so you can put the top back on. Like if you open it, let's face it, you're gonna be throwing it away.
Yeah.
You're gonna eat the whole thing.
Pretty much. Yeah, or like even those Chex bags, those Chex Mix. There's no way that's 7 servings or whatever they say it is.
Mm-hmm. Could you eat it by the handful?
It says, just 5 pieces at a time. What?
Yeah. That's my favorite, looking serving sizes on things sometimes. Just kind of like, oh, this looks pretty good. You're reading everything. Serving size, you're like 3 pieces. I'm like, who are the right man eats 3 pieces? You're going to eat half this damn thing.
Like 1/3 of a cupcake.
Exactly.
So, but, I wanted to mention, as far as eating while you're running or being active, one of my sponsors is GU Energy, GU Energy, and they have those tabs, liquid gels. They have the chew gels that are like candies, like soft candies. They have all kinds of drink tabs, like for electrolytes. I've been using them for years, but I just got actually my brother for Christmas. I got him a variety pack of like 15, 20 different flavors. And the gel, there's a liquid, and then the chews. I really like the chews. I think there's a watermelon flavor that's my favorite. It's like a green color, but yeah, I like them a lot. I don't use them all the time. Like if I'm going on a short 1-2 mile jog, you don't really need it. If you're doing like an hour Orange Theory class, it might be beneficial. But if you're doing like ultra marathons, you better carry like 4 or 5 of those, right?
Yeah, so most of the time with the ultras, I used to use goos a lot. I like the gels for them.
Yeah.
And so we used to get those pretty regularly. And that's the nice thing is it's just enough to keep you going. And yeah, especially for ultras, you tend to have a habit of the first half you would eat solid food. Then when your stomach's just cranked, then you start using the gels because they just go right into your system. So you don't have to digest anything.
Like right into your bloodstream. Just a hit of sugar. There's electrolytes. I'm sure there's like recovery agents in it. And they have actually a whole line of like for recovery, for sprinting, like for specific types of working out. They really cover it all. And I am so impressed by their line of flavors. It's amazing. They have like 50 different flavors you could choose from like Coca-Cola, and it tastes just like the pop, to like key lime pie or birthday cake or like watermelon. It's just so many different varieties. And then they get into Stroop waffles. You ever have a Stroop waffle?
Dude, I love this thing.
Caffeinated waffles. Sometimes some of them are caffeinated, some are not without. And again, a huge variety of flavors. And it's like a Dutch style waffle you put on top of coffee, and your coffee heats up. Not for iced coffee. I guess you could do it that too, but for hot coffee. So the steam rises and heats up your waffle and kind of like gets not melty a little bit. It gets not soggy, but it's in a perfect state of meltiness. Because in the inside of this waffle is sometimes like caramel or goo energy, like flavoring. So all great stuff and healthy for you.
We're real big on those. Those are real big in the cycling world because you put them in your jersey pocket, they heat up.
Yep. Yeah, you just use your own body heat sometimes.
Yep.
So yeah, I love that company. I've been using them for years. Check them out. I should probably have a code somewhere, a discount code. I'll put it in the description if I have one.
Yeah.
Give them a shout out. But do you have any companies you want to give a shout out to? Anybody who's on board helping you out?
Yeah, I would say probably the first one would be my jiu-jitsu school. They're my main sponsor. It's got their logo right there. High Road Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu here in Fredericksburg, and he also has a little kind of foundation, get people to his big thing is do a good deed, treat everyone a little better. That one's High Road Revolution. So those guys. Also helmet sponsor LS2 helmets, Breaking Brakes, Evolve Nutrition. I use a lot of their stuff. I'm totally blanking right now, but yeah. Everyone else, check my Instagram page. It's all listed.
Yeah, excuse me. That was just
and motorcycle excitement. I said, and motorcycle excitement track day and road race school too. I do coaching with them. So if you're in the Virginia, North Carolina area and want to come out and get some riding together, we can do that. And like I said before, if you want to get any personal training plans or anything like that, On Track Performance is my company. OnTrackPerformancePT.com, and also On Track Performance PT on Instagram. So you can catch up either of those. Getting in the habit of posting videos pretty regularly, but shoot me a message on there. You can go on the website and set up for an assessment call. We can see what we can do for you. Like I said, all the plans are personalized to each client. There's no copy pasting or anything like that. So it's all just for you. It's built for you. And it's not just this is what's gonna get you to work out. We do everything from your postseason training, your preseason training, in season. I plan all of your tapers for all of your events. And then we work on all of your muscle imbalances, stretching exercises. We even develop warm-up procedures to go through while at the track and cool down to make sure you can get the best out of your race day, and how to stay warm throughout the day as well.
So your plans are structured differently based on maybe if you do in-person coaching versus virtual, or how often you have contact with them, I would assume, or how often or what type of plans they want.
For the most part, the plans themselves are based on the client, what time they have to work out in, how often they can do it, because people need different amounts of recovery for each, especially if they're just getting into working out versus if they're a sociopathic expert racer who works out every single day, or they're going to need different. Also, what they need to work on. I always tell everyone, some people have exercises they enjoy. So if one guy really, really likes doing squats, I really don't need to focus on leg strength for him. He's got to get some endurance in. And if someone else really enjoys doing core work, I actually have someone who enjoys doing core work. It's strange. But for that guy, we need to, work on everything else. But for the most part, no matter what, we always end up having to work on adding full body functionality to it and try to make everyone more well-rounded.
Sure, and no one body's the same. Everybody wants different things and has different strength levels to begin with. So you got to tailor it to each person, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and everyone's had their own history, list of injuries. They have their own genetic predisposition. So you just gotta kind of figure it all out and then develop a plan accordingly. Sure,
and you have the Panda Racing, right?
Yeah, that's my endurance team. And I say team, not me. But I have a bunch of shirts and stuff on the website, on trackperformancept.com, and it's now on eBay and working on a few other sites and putting it on. And so there's a bunch of different designs and different stuff with that on there. And I also have the Track Life logo and a bunch of shirts that's going on. So it's all print to order. So you typically get it in about a week and a half. So I figured since I have the option for it, I enjoy having clever shirts and everything, so I just started designing that. So it's got water bottles, shirts, backpacks, all kinds of stuff on there. I even have some rash guards for jiu-jitsu training that have the big Panda Racing logo on it. It says Panda Racing down one sleeve.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a nice logo, a nice mascot.
Yeah, thank you.
It's recognizable, and like I always look at that mark EDS, the cougar or whatever it is, the yellow. It's like a recognizable symbol. That could be your symbol.
Yep, it doesn't matter like what colors they make their bike. You always see that on the side in whatever color, and you're like, yep, that's mark BDS.
For sure. So just hit our 2-hour mark, so I guess we'll call it here. But thanks for talking to me for 2 hours now and catching up. You've become a friend over the last year or so since we've been talking on here, and it's just nice to connect and to shoot the shit.
Oh yeah, man. Invite back whenever, man. I'm always good to sit here and BS.
All right. Well, I'll hit you up at least next year, maybe sooner, and maybe I'll see you at the racetrack. I plan on being, like I said, Daytona in a week, less than that, and then maybe I'll be doing a full season of being a track marshal. I'm doing ESR full time right now, so I'm kind of up in the air I don't have to be anywhere. Which is awesome. And I'm trying to get rid of my physical inventory so I can kind of just be anywhere and not have to come back to ship stuff. And opportunity, well, if you listen to the Jason Uribe, you probably know, but opportunity for me to be an MSF instructor, for the Motorcycle Safety Foundation, coaching for that. That's even going to be slower than coaching for track days. But that's a different type of training. That's like introductory to riding training. So getting people into the sport for the first time, and then we'll see what else is out there. Try to do a couple of different track day or track marshaling organizations. Try to get my foot wet with a few different things. So just be listing products and be adding new stuff all the time.
That works, man.
All right. Well, have a good night. I'm gonna be getting ready for the snow coming in a couple hours and be bundled up.
All right, man. Good luck.
Have a good one.
Later.
Bye-bye.